Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles.
Of course, here is the English translation of the document, formatted as requested. What is a man's greatest tragedy? It's not poverty, nor is it unrecognized talent. It's when you've exhausted your heart and soul, burned yourself out for your so-called family, only to find that the person sharing your bed, along with her think tank, is like a group of cold financial analysts evaluating your asset quality on an Excel spreadsheet and designing a perfect liquidation plan to legally bleed you dry. They don't want to divorce you. They want to liquidate you. What you thought was a 10-year marriage was merely a long and thorough due diligence process. What you thought were whispers of care and concern were just periodic asset inventories. When the equity in your company appreciates, when your parents' old house is about to be demolished and compensated, when your utility value and liquidation value reach a certain optimal exit point, the time to close the net has arrived. Don't think I'm being alarmist, because this hunt is staged every day in places we cannot see. If it weren't for that cold, humiliating frozen pizza on my 35th birthday, I might have lived my entire life in a slaughterhouse meticulously constructed with lies and the phrase, "It's for your own good," until the day I died. My name is Julian, 35 years old, a successful man in the eyes of others, a technical director at an internet company with stock options, a car, and a house. I once believed my life script was an urban drama about achieving a happy family through hard work. It wasn't until my birthday that I discovered I was just the asset package awaiting harvest in that script. That day, I worked late into the night and dragged my exhausted body home. No cake, no candles. All that greeted me was a frozen pizza on the kitchen counter, as hard as a rock. Next to it was a sticky note with my wife Clara's familiar handwriting. "Happy birthday, heat it up yourself." Immediately after, my phone vibrated. 2 words from her popped up on WeChat: "Congrats." At that moment, my worldview became just like that frozen pizza. Cold, hard, and with a cheap, plastic taste. A week ago, it was her best friend Vanessa's birthday, and the scene is still a thorn in my side. The backyard was decorated like a film festival with fireworks, a champagne tower, and they even hired a drone for aerial shots. Clara was bustling about, her face radiant with smiles, as if that was her life's main stage. For that party, she charged $30,000 to my credit card. Her reason? Vanessa is my best friend. Her prestige is my prestige. I confronted her, asking why on my birthday, I didn't even get a bowl of noodles made by her own hands. On that face I was once so infatuated with, there was now only a cold impatience, as if looking at a petulant child. You're a grown man, in your 30s, still caring about such formalities? Besides, haven't you always disliked crowds? I'm doing this for your own good. See? What a perfectly closed logic. The 3 words "for your own good" are like a universal seal, capable of shutting down all your questions and grievances. I didn't argue with her. Years of suppression had taught me that any argument would be defined by her as, "You're not mature enough," or "You lack perspective." I just silently picked up the travel bag I had packed long ago. I had been packing this bag for 6 months, and every time I wanted to leave, I would put it back, numbing myself with the thought of giving each other one more chance. But this time I was tired. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, ready to end this one-man show for good, a call from the company's CTO came like a summons from hell. An urgent online bug, affecting millions of users, had to be dealt with immediately. I retreated to the entryway, stuffed the bag into the utility closet, took out my laptop, and began coding, crouched in the dark corner behind the door. It was this humble posture, this dark corner, that gave me the privilege of listening in on a multi-million-dollar asset liquidation project meeting. The closet door was ajar. I heard Clara's phone ring, and she put it on speaker. Vanessa's signature sharp and excited voice pierced through the door crack like a poisoned needle, stabbing my eardrums. "Is he gone?" Almost. Clara's voice had a lightness I had never heard before, a sense of relief. The way he looked, all dead inside, he definitely can't take it anymore. "Perfect. Remember what I told you. The moment he steps out, you start taking pictures. Mess up the house a bit. Cry, you have to cry. Take pictures after your eyes are red and swollen. This is primary evidence. My fingers froze on the verge of typing a dangerous pseudo-RMRF. And then we stick to the plan. This week, spray some of my perfume on one of his old shirts to fake an affair. Next week, find a way to get some bruises yourself and say he lost control and pushed you. Remember, you must provoke him with words first. Make him yell at you, smash things. That way the videos you take will have more impact. Clara was still hesitant. Is this going too far? He's never actually done anything to me. Done anything? Vanessa's tone shot up, filled with greed and malice. Clara, let me tell you, this is no time for feelings. That tech stock he has from his company will be valued at least $30 million after the next round of financing. And that old house his parents left him is up for demolition negotiations next month. The compensation will be at least a few million. You're not having a spat with him right now. You're engaging in a redistribution of wealth. You are fighting for the rest of your life. Crouched in the darkness, my body was ice cold, but my mind was clearer than ever. I finally understood that what I had considered marital problems were, in their eyes, merely necessary friction during project execution. Clara was persuaded but still lacked confidence. But the lawyer. I've got the lawyer handled for you, the best in the business for these kinds of cases. The lawyer said that modern marriage law essentially protects the weak and the evidence. As long as we can use evidence to frame you as a weak woman suffering from both domestic violence and infidelity, you'll occupy the moral and legal high ground. You'll get at least 70% of the marital assets. When the law is used as a tool for plunder, kindness becomes the most foolish epitaph. What chilled me to the bone even more was hearing my mother-in-law Helen's voice on the call, also scheming. That woman, whom I had respected like my own mother and given $10,000 a month in living expenses, said in an utterly calm tone, "Clara, listen to Vanessa. A woman must ultimately plan for herself. Men are unreliable. Seize the opportunity while he still feels a bit guilty towards you. Getting the money in hand is what's most practical." For the next 10 minutes, they discussed, like three precise surgeons, how to perform an asset-stripping surgery on me as a person, how to fabricate a chain of evidence, how to manipulate social media to gain sympathy, and how to launch a surprise attack with a legal team to apply for asset preservation, freezing all my accounts and equity, precisely when I was most overwhelmed with company projects. Every step was precise, vicious, and perfectly wrapped in a cloak of legality. The call ended. Clara went upstairs, humming a cheerful tune. I closed my laptop and leaned against the cold wall. Anger? No, that was no longer enough to describe what I felt. It was a profound fear and chill that went to the bone, a feeling of being completely objectified, treated like a fattened pig ready for slaughter with every detail, how to make the cut, how to drain the blood, how to carve it up, already meticulously arranged. 3 seconds later, I made my decision. I picked up my bag, opened the door, and slammed it shut with all my might, making sure the entire hallway heard my rage. Then, I went around to the back door and, using my spare key, slipped into the basement like a silent ghost. There was my command center and also my fortress of revenge. Before I began my revenge, I had to understand one thing first. Why did things turn out this way? Simply classifying Clara and Vanessa as bad women is shallow and useless. Behind this phenomenon, there must be a complete, replicable operational logic. If I couldn't see through this logic, even if I won this battle, I could never truly escape this cognitive hell. I sat on the cold basement floor and reviewed my 10 years with Clara. I sadly discovered that our marriage was less a union of emotion and more like an angel investment. 10 years ago, I was a recent graduate, a poor kid with technical skills but no money. Clara chose me, which at the time seemed like she was marrying down. But from an investment perspective, she invested her youth and beauty in a high-growth stock. All these years, I worked desperately. 996 was the norm, all-nighters were common. I traded my health and time for company equity, property in the city, and a growing bank account. My personal value, or the valuation of my asset package, was skyrocketing. And Clara? She enjoyed the premium from the investment. No need to work, just shopping, beauty salons, and afternoon tea with her friends every day. I thought this was love, the purpose of my struggle. Only now do I understand that in their cognitive system, this is called post-investment management. When my assets appreciated to a certain tipping point, while my emotional value, companionship, emotional support, continuously declined due to overworking, a risk assessment model formed in their minds. Asset appreciation has peaked. My equity is about to be cashed out. The property faces demolition. This is the peak period for my assets. Maintenance costs are rising. I began to show dissatisfaction with her extravagance and indifference, requiring her to invest more emotional labor to appease me. The cost of maintaining the relationship was getting higher. Exit risk is controllable. They had already found professional lawyers and designed a legal exit path with extremely low risk. What was the conclusion? The conclusion was, it's the perfect time to cash out and take profit. And here's the golden sentence. When the person by your side starts frequently conducting a cost-benefit analysis on you, you are no longer a lover, but a financial product awaiting liquidation. If Clara was the executor, then Vanessa and her circle of friends were the masterminds and the brainwashing center behind this M&A case. Vanessa's own marriage was a failure. She married a hollow big shot, glamorous on the surface but rotten inside. Therefore, she harbored a pathological jealousy and a desire to destroy all happy, upwardly mobile marriages. Her brainwashing of Clara was a masterclass in bestie PUA, magnifying dissatisfaction, creating anxiety. When I worked overtime, she'd say, "See, he doesn't love you at all, only his code." When I was frugal, she'd say, "A man's attitude towards spending money on you is the measure of his love." When I forgot an anniversary, she'd say, "A man like that just sees you as a maid, you're not in his heart at all." Cutting off external information sources. She would systematically belittle my friends and family, making Clara trust only her judgment. Over time, Clara came to live in a cocoon of negative information constructed by her, providing solutions, granting righteousness. When Clara was successfully brainwashed and began to identify as a victim, Vanessa presented that vicious asset liquidation plan. She didn't define it as betrayal, but as female awakening and taking back what you deserve. This is the most terrifying part. Through a closed, self-hypnotizing community of malice, they packaged despicable greed as righteous revenge. They didn't just want money. They wanted to stand on the moral high ground. Having figured all this out, not a shred of love remained in my heart, only a cold, machine-like will to execute. My battlefield was here, in front of this high-spec server in the basement. Step 1. Establish a God's perspective, the evidence fortress plan. 6 months ago, I installed 4 hidden pinhole network cameras at home, connected to my private cloud server. The excuse at the time was smart home security. Clara sneered at it. She had no idea that these cold lenses were about to become the eyes that judged her. I immediately wrote a multi-threaded script to encrypt all surveillance footage with AES-256, then backed it up in real time in triplicate to 3 different cloud servers located in Germany, Singapore, and Canada. I had to ensure that no physical or network force could destroy this raw evidence. Step 2. Excavate the digital graveyard, information recovery and penetration. I was the one who set up the systems on Clara's laptop, iPad, and phone. She thought her deleted chat histories were gone, but they were merely marked as deleted in the file allocation table. I initiated a military-grade deep data recovery program. On the screen, those venomous words crawled out from the data graveyard one by one, like zombies being reanimated. These tech guys are the easiest to handle. No social experience, and they care too much about their pride. I've already contacted that Photoshop kid. His work is good, not too expensive. Guarantees it will be seamless. When the time comes, a few of US friends will testify in court. We'll say we saw him hit you with our own eyes. The judge will see a few weak women and will definitely believe us. Here's another golden sentence. The truth isn't hidden. It's just repeatedly wiped by a group of self-proclaimed geniuses with lies, until all that's left are flawed fingerprints. I took a screenshot of every message, timestamped it, and filed it away. My hands were as steady as a robotic arm on an operating table, because I knew that any tremor at this moment was mercy to the enemy and cruelty to myself. Step 3. Lure the snake out of its hole. An actor prepares and the human nature trap. Merely possessing past evidence was not enough. I needed them to broadcast their wickedness live, right within the web I had laid. The next morning, I returned home through the front door, playing the role of a remorseful overnight husband. Clara, I'm sorry. I was too emotional yesterday. My tone was gentle, my eyes filled with guilt and exhaustion. A flicker of surprise, quickly replaced by deep satisfaction, crossed Clara's eyes. It's good that you've come to your senses. A harmonious home brings prosperity. I thought about it all night, I continued, dangling the bait right in front of her. I feel like I've neglected you too much over the years. That Hermes bag you liked last time? I approve. Go buy it. You want to redecorate the living room in that French country style? Do it. Money is just a tool I use to make you happy. Clara's expression went from surprise to ecstasy. She probably thought her psychological control over me had reached a state of perfection. That night, on my recording equipment in the basement, I clearly heard her call Vanessa, her voice thick with suppressed excitement. Vanessa, you were right. Men are all the same. A slap and then a sweet word, and they behave. He's completely obedient to me now. We can push our plan forward even faster. The prey had started to excitedly help the hunter check if the trap was secure. For the next week, I became an Oscar-level model husband. When her mom, Helen, came over to make pointed remarks, I greeted her with a smile and proactively refilled her tea. When Vanessa came over with sarcastic comments, I played dumb and even enthusiastically asked if she wanted to invest in my friend's new project. The more smug they became, the more they let their guard down. And then, their live performances began to unfold, one after another, on my surveillance system. Lipstick stains and long blonde hairs that didn't belong to Clara started appearing on my shirts. A strange woman's earring would be accidentally found in my car. I would receive ambiguous, harassing texts from virtual numbers late at night. And all of this was recorded in crystal clear 4K resolution. I could see Clara, like a clumsy spy, wearing disposable gloves, carefully planting the evidence. Then she would step back, take out her phone, and take pictures from different angles to save as proof. The most brilliant act was her self-directed domestic abuse drama. That day, I intentionally came home late. On the monitor, she was in the bathroom, using a highly pigmented eyeshadow palette she had just bought to create bruises on herself. She faced the mirror, repeatedly adjusting the angle and pressure until she had drawn what she considered the most realistic and sympathy-inducing finger pinch marks. I saved this 15-minute creative process video and then walked in. "Does your arm hurt?" I asked, looking at the masterpiece on her arm in an almost gentle tone. "Want me to rub it for you?" The color drained from Clara's face, turning it from red to white, like a wall freshly painted with lime. But just 2 seconds later, she slipped into character, her eyes quickly welling up with tears. "It's all your fault. You came back drunk yesterday and pushed me. That's why I hit the corner of the table." "I pushed you yesterday?" I asked calmly. You forgot? You even cursed at me." She started improvising, adding details to the script. "From 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. yesterday, I was in an important international video conference at my company. A total of 15 colleagues, both local and international, were present. The entire conference was recorded and archived." I interrupted her. "Would you like to rephrase your statement after reviewing the conference recording?" Clara was completely stunned, her mouth agape, unable to utter a single word. I walked out of the bathroom and heard her frantic voice on the phone with Vanessa. "Vanessa, something's happened. I think he knows something. What do I do?" The fish had taken the hook. It was time to rip out the hook, the line, and the rod from their throats. I executed the final step of closing the net. I deliberately made a loud phone call in my study, my voice tinged with excitement. The topic was about the company's latest round of financing. The valuation had tripled. The stock options were about to be cashed out, and my personal net worth would exceed $100 million. I made every number sound like a thunderclap, ensuring Clara, who was eavesdropping outside, could hear everything clearly. Half an hour later, Clara walked in, her expression more serious than ever, like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "Julian, I need to talk to you." "About what?" "I think our marriage has reached its end." Here it comes. Their script had finally reached the last page. The showdown, followed by a fatal blow using their prepared evidence. "I don't agree to a divorce," I said, my tone calm but firm. "But we have no feelings for each other anymore." I said, "I don't agree." I looked into her eyes and said, word by word, "And I do think we need to talk. Right now. Immediately. Call your mom and Vanessa over. I think all the shareholders of this family asset restructuring project should be present." Clara's pupils contracted violently. She was in a full-blown panic. An hour later, Clara, Vanessa, and Helen, the three women who had plotted my asset liquidation, sat side by side on my sofa. The atmosphere was as heavy as concrete. Helen was the first to attack, playing the role of the caring mother standing up for her daughter. "Julian, what are you trying to do? My daughter has suffered with you for so many years. Now that you're rich and successful, you think you can just dump her." "Helen, don't be hasty." I turned on the 120-inch projector in the living room. It was now my courtroom. "I've invited you all here today to hold a project review meeting and see exactly where our plan went wrong." I pressed the play button. The first image on the big screen was of Clara in the bathroom, meticulously painting bruises on herself like a beauty blogger. Next to it was a WeChat tutorial from Vanessa. "Paint it on the inner arm. It's visible but not over the top. That'll have more visual impact in the photos." The blood drained from Clara's face, and her lips began to tremble uncontrollably. The video continued. Clara sneakily planting an earring in my car, carefully pressing lipstick onto my shirt, practicing how to cry a river of tears in front of the mirror. Every video clip came with a timestamp accurate to the millisecond and footage from multiple angles. "You faked all this, you pervert. You spied on me." Clara screamed hysterically. "This is illegal. It can't be used as evidence." "No," I said, turning to a stunned Helen. "This isn't spying. This is the home security system I installed 6 months ago." Clara was aware of it and signed this informed consent form at the time of installation. It wasn't meant for prying into privacy. It was meant to record the truth. Clearly, it performed its duty exceptionally well. "So what?" Vanessa tried one last desperate struggle. "All men are scum. You must have done something to wrong Clara first." "Patience. There's evidence of my wrongdoing too." A new image appeared. The recovered chat history from their best friends group. I had it read out by a cold, emotionless AI voice. "A man like him deserves to leave with nothing. Consider it a service to society. I've already contacted that Photoshop kid. I deleted the transfer records. It's foolproof. Remember, we'll all testify in court that we saw him hit her. The judge will see a few weak women and will definitely believe us." The entire living room fell into a deathly, tomb-like silence. Vanessa shot up, trying to run, but I hit the lock button on the smart lock. "Ms. Vanessa, don't be in such a hurry to leave. As the chief strategist and risk management director of this liquidation project, your highlight reel isn't over yet." I played all the evidence, including every recorded phone call between the three of them, the details of their plans to divide my assets, and even the chat screenshots and transfer records of Vanessa contacting the lawyer for falsifying evidence. It was a public, ruthless, digital execution. The projector turned off, leaving only the suppressed, desperate sobs of the three women in the room. "Julian, I was wrong. I was possessed. Let's talk." Clara cried, crawling towards me, trying to grab my hand. I took a step back, avoiding her touch. "There's nothing to talk about." I took out a thick stack of documents and threw them on the table. "This is the divorce agreement and a file for a criminal report. I looked at the three of them, my voice low, but every word landed like a judge's gavel. According to Article 1091 of the Civil Code, if one party commits a major fault such as forging debt, hiding, transferring, selling off, destroying, or squandering community property, the non-faulting party is entitled to claim damages. And you, by fabricating evidence and attempting to illegally seize assets worth tens of millions, have gone far beyond major fault. This constitutes attempted fraud. Right now, you have three options. First, Clara, you sign this agreement to leave the marriage with nothing. Out of respect for our 10-year marriage, I will personally put that criminal report into a shredder. Second, you refuse. I will immediately submit this 30 gigabytes evidence package, notarized by a public office, one copy to the court to file for divorce, and one copy to the Economic Investigation Department of the Public Security Bureau. You can hire the best lawyers in the country and see which is tougher, your story or my evidence. Third, I paused, looking at the ashen faces of Helen and Vanessa. You can continue to make a scene or sell your sob story to the media. Tomorrow, I will hold a small press briefing and release all the evidence to the public. I imagine the major media outlets and social media influencers would be delighted to do an in-depth report on the story of the year. Educated housewife conspires with toxic best friend to defraud programmer husband of a fortune. When that happens, you won't just lose money, but also your right to be a decent human being for the rest of your lives. In the end, with a hand that trembled uncontrollably, Clara signed her name on every page. A month later, the divorce was finalized. My assets, my equity were completely intact. That old house about to be demolished had a clear title and had nothing to do with her. Clara's legal team, after I had my lawyer show them a portion of the domestic abuse drama video, immediately advised her to accept the agreement. Vanessa was fired publicly by her company for gross violation of professional ethics and corporate values, and was blacklisted within her industry. In this city, she was socially dead. Helen never had the face to see me again. I heard she moved back to her hometown not long after. Did I win? Legally and financially, I won. But in my heart, there was no joy of victory, only a scorched earth left after a disaster. I won a war, but I forever lost a home that I once built with my life. In this story, there's no warm-hearted cafe owner to heal me. No cheap chicken soup for the soul about, I finally learned to love myself. Because reality isn't a movie. The reality is, some wounds leave permanent scars, constantly reminding you of the darkness of human nature. I'm writing this story down not to sell anxiety, but to issue a warning. In today's era of diverse and chaotic value systems, you must re-examine your most intimate relationships. Because in the corners you cannot see, there are countless pairs of eyes, using emotion as a cloak, feminism as a shield, and the law as a weapon, conducting a cold, hard value assessment and risk analysis of you. Never test the greed of human nature with your kindness, because you will sadly discover that some people don't have humanity, only KPIs. The only thing you can do is, before the storm arrives, to sharpen your eyes, understand the rules, build the strongest ship for yourself, and prepare the sharpest weapons. Now, please take 3 minutes to quietly consider a question. Is your ship built? And where are your weapons hidden?
That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.